All those who are willing and able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use our directives for the common good, and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion. We have a few guests with us here today, a couple of notables. I would like to say a couple of young ladies from the Fairport schools. I hope I don't screw these names up too bad. Autumn Hutter and Hannah McCauley. Hey, I'm getting a thumbs up. That's a good thing. They have also shadowed Auditor Treasurer Zern. There you go, Auditor Chris Galloway. Stand by, you may get a visit. Yeah, they've proven to have incredible questions and insight. I have to say that. They're very impressive young ladies. I can't say enough. And speaking of impressive young people, we have some 4-H visitors here. Lisa Miller Manning. Lisa, you want to come up and introduce? We'll get you going there.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. My name is Lisa Manning, and I work for the Ohio State University Extension Office, and I oversee the 4-H program in Lake County. So what you may see when you see 4-H youth is a bunch of kids in fun t-shirts having fun at fair. But what people don't realize is that 4-H is the largest youth development program in the country, serving over 600 million youth. And on top of the fun they have at fair, there's a whole year long of preparing. Kids take different projects. They hold offices in their clubs. They do community service. They do what I call transferable skills, which prepare them for leadership roles and for leadership roles as adults. We have many youth here that are going to talk about the different programs that they do in 4-H, but a couple stats that we have is that 25% of our youth end up doing volunteer work in their community. 14% of them have better emotional and mental health and have better family life as a result of being involved in 4-H, and a lot of that comes from the camaraderie that goes along with it. And 20% of our youth are more comfortable in leadership roles, and you're going to see why from the things that they do in our 4-H program here in Lake County.
Hello, my name is Chris Kojevar. My wife and I run the Lake County Young Guns 4-H Club, shooting sports club. So it's a part of 4-H that is newer, and it's not as known because we're not as visible at fairs, and we're in the public, but we are at our Lake County Fair. You can come and check us out. But my wife and I decided that we wanted to start a youth shooting sports program because there wasn't any in this area, and we looked at different models, and we looked at the 4-H model, and we found that we thought it was the best to help kids develop, and was really because it's founded around safety is the primary factor, and then you build from there. So it was a natural transition, and our kids were doing some livestock in 4-H, so it was a perfect match. So really, 4-H shooting sports is a nice place for kids to develop into young adults, learning responsibility and leadership roles, and it grows from there. It even gets on a national level where some of our kids have competed in a national competition, and there's national ambassadorships that they can go to help promote the 4-H shooting sports program. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Gabriella Kochevar. I've been in Young Guns shooting sports, or 4-H sports, for well, since I was 9, I've done archery, air rifle, and rifle, and I've been to nationals. It was a great opportunity for me, and an opportunity that has taught me leadership, and it's made me learn leadership and a whole bunch of just social skills. And I mean, I've been vice president in my club last year, and I've been president this year, and it's helping me grow into a young adult, and it's taught me a lot of responsibility, and it's taught me discipline and just how to be a good person in general. So, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Hello, I'm Liv Steelman. I have been in 4-H for 8 years now, and I have been in Tail to the Rail, which is a horse 4-H club, and I've been in Junior Saddle Horse and Young Guns. Last year I attended nationals in Nebraska for Young Guns. I shot air pistol, and now this year I'm going for archery. So, you know, I definitely think that is a lot of things that not a lot of other children would experience during their youth, and especially that is one thing that 4-H definitely helps. And it's definitely helped me be more confident and attend more leadership roles, especially just like what the other people were saying. And yeah, I definitely think that 4-H has definitely helped most of us with everything, really. It's just made us all better people. So, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Paige Vaselko. This year I am the president of both Equine Athletics and Junior Saddle Horse. So Equine Athletics is our my main club that we focus on riding horses, but then Junior Saddle Horse kind of oversees all of the saddle horse clubs, and in that we focus on educating the other members. So we host a bunch of different events that just kind of get the kids included, and then we also do a lot of community service that not only focuses on including the 4-Hers but also everyone around our community, so it's opened up to anybody. You don't have to be just in 4-H for it. Thank you.
Well, hold on, you got a sash there and a tiara. Now you got to explain that.
So I am the 2022 Lake County Fair Queen. Within that, I have been able to travel to over 20 different fairs around Ohio. It has really been a blessing. In January, I got to go to Columbus, and I kind of competed for the role of Ohio Fairs Queen. So I met, I'm pretty sure it was over 70 different other fair queens, and we just had a few days to kind of talk. And the best part about what I got to do is I got to kind of explain what makes Lake County so great. And a lot of people really don't know a lot about us because I feel like we're so small. So it was really great to kind of branch out and to invite other fair queens and kings to come visit our fair. And I just feel like being able to have that opportunity because of 4-H and because of the support of our community is what has led me to be a stronger person, not only leadership-wise, but also in my school choice and in my future education roles.
Well, thank you for being such a good ambassador.
I'm Emma Fekkanen, and I am in the 4-H Club Giddy Up Whoa, and I'm also in our STARS leadership group, and I'm also in camp counselors. And I've just learned a lot from being a camp counselor about how to be a leader and how to do what's best for our children and just have fun. In STARS, we do different service projects around our county, and we also just help build leadership skills in us and learn more about Lake County and other counties around us.
Awesome, thank you.
My name's Belle Bowman. I've been in 4-H for 9 years now. I started out with a non-animal project. I did cake decorating and then moved into the livestock side. I am the president of Junior Market Livestock, which right now we do have our annual plant sale fundraiser going. If you want to check out our social media page for that, it is Junior Market Livestock, Lake County 4-H on Facebook. I am the vice president of the STARS Leadership Club. I am the president of the Live Action 4-H Club, and I am also one of the few youth on the Lake County Advisory Board. The program itself has given me so many huge opportunities, the biggest three being I was on the 2022 Queen's Court. I met so many amazing people traveling to different fairs, festivals, and parades that I've been in, and it's good to go and bring back ideas that I think might work for our county, or just see how each fair differs and is similar in their own unique ways. And then I was also honored to be one of the two of Lake County's Outstanding Youth Award recipients last year, and that has just kind of gone to show how much the program has built who I am. And then for anyone wanting to join 4-H or thinking about it, I would 100% say to go for it, because not only do you get the big opportunities, but you build a family within all of the people you meet, and you build those better connections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Macy Ratchford. I've been in 4-H for about 10 years now. I started off with riding horses, nothing big. So I'm in Muddy Boots 4-H Club. That's my main horse club. And I showed my horse Pandora and Madison throughout that. And then just 3 years ago, when COVID hit, I started to show livestock. That was very different for me in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm part of Wings and Things as well. And then in Wings and Things, I show lambs, goats, and chickens. And then I've also been a camp counselor, but with me being in college, I'm not able to do so this year because I am studying abroad in May in Scotland and England, because I go to school at Ohio State ATI, that's Agricultural Technical Institute, where I'm studying agricultural communications. And then I also went to Puerto Rico for our cultural immersions program run on by 4-H, and that event really helped me really know what 4-H is like in another country almost, and all the experiences through 4-H has really helped me to become the person who I am. I love agriculture, so with my degree, I want to get a bachelor's in agricultural communications and hopefully work for the Farm Bureau to just help kids who are urban city life understand where your food comes from, as well as what it does for us in our community. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ruby Peeler. So when I started 4-H, I actually started in the livestock end of it. Nothing big, just starting at 8 years old. It actually started with a cow that wasn't even for a 4-H project, and then we joined a 4-H group, and it was really amazing to see, to look up to all of these older people and be like, wow, I want to be just like them when I grow up. So as I continued 4-H, I started to join other groups. I joined the 4-H, my Tail to the Rail, which is my horse group. I joined Young Guns, which is shooting sports. And then I just recently joined Stars and Exchange. And I've been a camp counselor for about 3 years now. And I just cannot believe how much 4-H has showed me my opportunities in life. It's opened so many doors for me that I just didn't even know that were there. It also helped me to it showed me that I want to be a large animal specialist, and I also want to work with 4-H animals. I want to be able to continue to help kids with their youth development throughout my life. Because I am one of those kids now, and I just want to continue to show kids how important 4-H is. Thank you.
Exceptional.
Good morning. My name's Travis Metler. I've been involved in Lake County 4-H since birth. My parents actually met in this program. My grandmother was an advisor. I am the livestock advisor for the Bit of Luck 4-H Club. I'm the head auctioneer for the livestock sale. Both my children are in it. What this program does is it teaches our youth to be successful. Successful youth make successful adults. If it wasn't for this program, the county fair, I would not do what I do for a living in both of my avenues. what we get to do is amazing. And that little week at the fair is nothing that overcomes what we get to teach these children. They get to learn leadership skills. They get to learn how to handle and money management, which I think is a great skill, especially nowadays. They get to make friendships. They get to go out and do things like this, which most children wouldn't be able to. And most importantly, they get to succeed. Thank you.
Wow, well said.
Hello, my name's Judah Metler. I'm in the club Bit of Luck, and I've been in 4-H since I was 5. I've raised livestock for the entire time. I've never done anything else. I started with pigs, and I've been doing pigs since, but I've expanded to poultry a few times.
So your eggs and bacon, you got that covered then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for letting all of our youth talk about all their wonderful experiences. Anybody who's interested in joining 4-H, they can email me at manning, manning, .539@osu.edu, or they can check out our website, lake.osu.edu, and look for the 4-H tab. It has all Project Central, where they can look at all the hundreds of projects that kids can do, whether they're animal or non-animal, and look at our leadership groups and all the different things that we do. So thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Lisa, this is part we gotta heap the praise on you guys, and you do an amazing job.
Well,
Lisa.
thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Love what I do.
And it shows. It shines through in the quality. You know, I know we've all done the voice of the fair, and I have to admit, when it comes time to say giddy up, whoa, you know, you can really have some fun with that.
Right.
But I have to say, Travis, I'm so proud sitting here seeing that. You are amazing as an auctioneer.
Thank you.
The artistic, not just the professionalism, but the artistic delivery that you bring forward, it's impressive.
Thanks.
And just the youth here, I'm really feeling old. I remember when he was born, so. And then to find out you have kids, really.
It does happen, right?
It does happen. It does happen. But I have to say, this is such an amazing program, and the quality, and just I mentioned being an ambassador. That is such an important thing, because we all represent not only ourselves, our families, but our community, and then you're all exemplars. Gentlemen, do you want to add to this? I know we've got some other stuff here, but
First, I salute our Fair Queen, Paige Selcom. We thank you for representing us with dignity to the Ohio State Fairs Association, and we're grateful for your service at the Lake County Fair. I will say on the topic of the auctions, and thanks to each and every one of you who participated in raising the livestock, learning that experience, and then having the courage to go forward and compete, there is nothing more exciting at the Lake County Fair than the auction. If you have missed the livestock auction, you missed the best part of the fair. It is the most action and intrigue. I remember when I was literally walking into the fair and Mayor Bob Fiala was like, "Oh, there's somebody who's getting ready to bid against you, John. I'm just giving you a head up. I'm giving you a warning." And a friend of mine's like, "I'm going to sit next to this guy because I'm scouting him. I think he's your main competition." And literally, it's an unbelievable event that you walk into and you see literally the best livestock raised in the state by our youth who are learning how to do it both for leadership and personal growth, but also potentially for a career. And while we all love the Ohio State University, I think the Ohio State University Lake County Extension is the best part of it.
Thank you.
Because of the work that we do here together. So I don't know about all of you, but I'm going to be at the next Lake County Fair. And I'm going to be at the next auction because it is going to be the best one yet, because every year is.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I'm so very impressed with the youth here. I spent a lot of time talking to people about retaining our talent in Lake County, and this is what I'm talking about right here. You guys are the talent of Lake County in the future, and I hope you all
do those exciting trips and study abroad and get all that, but come back and settle down in Lake County because we need you. Most people your age don't do what you do. Most people go home, play a video game, and they're content. You go above and beyond, and I salute you for that. And I always look forward to the fair every year. Since I was a mayor, I did the voice of the fair and have a great time with it. It's a fun atmosphere, and so keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So with that, the Board of County Commissioners wish to formally honor 4-H Week in Ohio because doing so honors each and every one of you. Whereas 4-H Week was celebrated across the state, and youth and volunteers actively informed Ohio citizens about the 4-H program and how it benefits participants' families, and their communities. And whereas 4-H is a youth development program offered to individuals from the ages of 9 to 19. Across the country, 4-H Youth Development reaches more than 6.5 million people each year, helping kids learn by doing through hands-on activities. And whereas 4-H programs focus on active involvement and quality experiences that stimulate lifelong learning of values and skills. And whereas the Board of Lake County Commissioners recognize the importance of 4-H programs for many youths across the county and the country, now therefore, we, the Board of Commissioners in and for Lake County, honor and proclaim Ohio 4-H Week. Round of applause for the kids. Now, if Her Royal Highness would guide her court forward, we have a presentation.
I know.
Please sneak in the middle there. Yes, you do.
Very well done.
One more.
Not done until we see the New York one.
Yep. That's right. Back a little bit. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Told you.
The double bonus of 4-H is you already have your St. Patrick's Day gear.
Double duty. All right, we also have a representative from Robert Sprague's office, our Treasurer, Ohio. I believe Adam, well, I'm going to goof up this last name. I'll let you pronounce it, or I'm just going to make a mess of it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Gumpf, Public Affairs Liaison for State Treasurer Robert Sprague's office. And a little bit different from what you just did, I'm going to actually be presenting all of you with a commendation for demonstrating a commitment to fostering a more inclusive workplace for individuals living with disability through your guys' stable account. We thank you for the partnership that you've had with the State Treasurer's office, and well, this is for you. So thank you.
Thank you. No, it's an honor. I believe we were the first county in the state of Ohio to sign on and make that available to our employees.
Absolutely, yes. And I've also dropped off some posters and things for you guys to spread around the building, and it's such a great partnership. And with this being Developmental Disability Awareness Month, what time better than now to recognize you guys for all your work, so.
Absolutely, and Treasurer Sprague has been so supportive, so that it's mutual. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you want us to jump up
Sure,
here? Well,
absolutely.
There you go.
Why not? I come around to you, or?
So we'll be right there. Okay. We're gonna get our steps in.
Let's go a little closer this time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Stood on a chair, Jay.
An aerial shot.
Oh, great. I was gonna say, wait a minute. Thank you very much. All right, I believe that's the end of our guest and special presentations, so continue with our public comment portion.
Mr. President,
Oh, yes, sir.
before we go forward, I just want to say thank you again to the Treasurer's Office for this recognition. I think it's fair to say that the Board of Commissioners follows the very strong lead of Deepwood in recognizing the need to provide opportunities for those to fully participate in our society who have developmental disabilities. None of us are capable of doing everything, but we're all capable of so much if we're just given the chance. And so for Treasurer Sprague to have these programs available for the state and to be able to participate with you certainly means a lot to us. And as we enter into March Madness, I know that Treasurer Sprague and I will both be watching Duke with interest.
Excellent. I see we have Clerk of Courts Faith Andrews with us today. I've heard rumor to that effect.
Have you ever danced with the Blue Devil in the pale moonlight?
Good morning. I did want to echo Deepwood. We absolutely love working with that program, and we have two of the best cleaning folks out at Tidal. They clean both of our operations. Charlie is one of my favorite people. They do a wonderful job. So I'm very happy that we're able to participate in that. I also wanted to talk about Jobs and Family Services and what a wonderful resource they are. I have used them recently quite a bit in hiring. They have done a wonderful, Lucy, I'm telling you, she's done a wonderful job of sending me stellar candidates. I have hired quite a few. It's been very successful. They're ramping up very quickly. This is a wonderful resource. Anyone who has open rec positions in the county, if you're not using Jobs and Family Services, you're foolish. You really need to. They're good folks, and they are matching candidates. They're doing a great job of matching candidates, so I couldn't be happier. So I did want to just give a plug to JFS for that. I also want to talk a little bit about what's going to come up on, I guess, item 20. And I will be happy to also discuss, come back up here and talk a little bit about it. But first I want to say, too, that my budget hearing, if you have not seen it, if the people have not watched it, we talk about title surplus and how much money I've had to spend to fund legal from surplus. And the previous clerk also had to do so. 2012 on, she was funding salaries for legal folks. So the bottom line is that without title surplus being utilized for the legal division, they would not survive. The digitization project had to be funded this year with $100,000 already of title surplus. There was never enough money in the computerization fund because filing fees are down. And so that has to, and that comes out of, not the general fund. I also pay for the brick and mortar, where most counties pay for that on behalf of the clerk of courts. Anything that is paid for out of title surplus funds does not have to, it relieves the general fund and by extension the taxpayer. So, I'm happy to be able to generate enough and income, profit, so to speak, because we run the office efficiently and because the deputies there, work very, very hard. Very few people give them the credit that they deserve for as hard as they work. They make a lot of money for the state and for the county. Okay? So let me go through what I've funded, and this was all Commissioner Hammercheck's request in 2021. The COPS grant, and I actually have funded 2021 and 2022. I actually have a 2023 cycle and a 2024 cycle to fund the COPS grant. I'm happy to do that because we do not defund law enforcement here in Lake County. And I'm happy to have put 12, and it's a little bit more than originally we talked about because more people signed on, but I have funded 12 new deputies, sheriff's deputies for townships, boots on the ground, giving that back to the people. I've also funded a public defenders project to help try to reduce recidivism rates because folks, a lot of times when they come out of jail, don't have the support system. They've burned all their bridges. So and I do connect with Vanessa. There's a little bit of a rough start because initially the person they hired wasn't really a good fit for the job. So we have a new person. And Vanessa and I meet on a regular basis to see how things are going there. And I do forward all kinds of emails that I get from folks who are interested in talking with me about various programs to help those types, the folks coming out of jail. So I put the two of them together on a regular basis for that. I also funded a program, a telecommunicators program in Auburn Career Center. Once again, this was a request by Commissioner Hammercheck. And as I have indicated for several years, I have been funding legal operations. I did a workstation refresh because of all of our workstations were over 10 years old, and we needed to refresh that. And I funded a lot of things for the judges. During transition, I was told they will not help me at all. They were sharing expenses prior to me coming into office, and they do not help at all. I pay over $150,000 just for the two main components of my system, CourtView and OnBase, and I have tons of third-party peripheral systems that we have to pay for. I do not get any reimbursement or assistance. Okay, that's pretty expensive. There's never enough money in the computerization fund, so that is why I have to use title surplus to help with that. Again, in 2022, I funded legal in the second cycle of the COPS grant. In 2023, I've funded legal. I had to spend $100,000 just to fund the digitization operation because it's out of money. It was mismanaged and has been from inception. And I also funded, and I would like to fund, and I've made the funding available, declared a surplus of $275,000 at the request of Commissioner Plechnik this time. Shortly after Commissioner Plechnik asked me to go ahead and provide funding for that, Commissioner Hammercheck sent me an email about another opportunity for funding, $350,000 for the sheriff's, I think, gun range or something along those lines, and then another thing for education for Lake Erie College. I'll be happy to talk about funding something for Lake Erie College if they bring back the aviation program. That was a legacy program. They were the first aviation program, I think, in the country. I pitched this several years ago to them. Unmanned aerial vehicles, this is something up and coming. It's relevant. You can't do it at the executive airport because, drones and planes don't work together, but there is already property that they have been gifted in the Madison area that they could use, from, and they also have Concord Airport. So when we talk about maybe funding something relevant like that, for our kids, we do have issues with not having enough aircraft maintenance folks. There are real problems. We've got some things out at Executive Airport we need to start looking at educating our children for the jobs that they can take that are available here, and knowing our economic drivers like agriculture and manufacturing. It's one of the reasons why I would like to help the business community. Agriculture is one of the two biggest economic drivers in Lake County. I used to work at the County Port Authority when there was an idea that was pitched about a wine trail, and there was money that was put in by the private sector, but it went nowhere. This was under Mark Rentala's tutelage because he was too busy working on the Better Flip, I'm sure. But it never went anywhere. I would love to be able to, I'm very excited about being able to be involved in trying to bring this project to fruition again, because it is one of our big economic drivers. Additionally, I feel like this covers two bases. Tourism, okay, that should be a huge economic driver. We live on a lake. Okay, we have a natural resource. So I'm very excited to be able to do that. Now, I did want to remind folks of one thing. Commissioner Hamercheck mentioned that the Visitors Bureau gets $1 million every year. Well, yes, they do, probably. And you helped them. One of the first things you did in 2016 with Jerry Serino was to raise the hotel tax against the wishes of the business community, because they pay to bring folks in from other areas. We have global conglomerates here that bring their folks in and bring business, clients and stuff in. They're paying that tax too. I would say, they might be paying the lion's share. I don't know. I'd have to drill down on those numbers. But the business community was not happy about it. And additionally, just, 3 or 4 weeks ago, you tried to raise the sales tax, 0.5%. Once again, it would be a crushing blow to the business community. So I'm seeing a theme here. Raising taxes and crushing the business community. So I'm not sure what you want to spend things on. Again, I've done everything, Commissioner Hamercheck, that you asked me to do last year and the year before. I'm working with, Commissioner Plechnik asked me to do this. I really would love to fund the business community, to do something for the business community, to help them. Again, they're a huge economic driver. I did listen, even though I wasn't available for the last commissioners meeting, I listened to the commissioners meeting, and I did hear the statistics that Mr. Boyd put forth. I think this is a very important project, and I'm thankful to hopefully be a part of it. I'll be happy to answer any questions or add to this when we get to item 20.
Well, while you're there, hey, I got to say nice things.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if I can't trigger that happy dance. We all know how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
When you had your budget sharing, you had a certificate of title surplus of $5.4 million. I believe it's now $5.5 million, heading in the right direction. Again, I think you and your team need to be told thank you. Well done. That is very sincere. The efforts that go on at title, it's impressive. You're not, when I say you, your organization, with your leadership, effectiveness, efficiency, the amounts that you're charging, because some say, well, just give it back to the people. You have to charge a certain amount. But you are allowed to be effective, you are allowed to be efficient, you are allowed to economy of scale, have efficiencies that allow you to perform those duties at less than the total cost.
We fund everything from what we make, everything. That the general fund does not have to do that. I think the only thing you might have to deal with is, and I don't know, I'd have to talk to Matus about it, is healthcare and things of that nature. But I mean, even the salaries. So, and again, that is outside the general fund. Everything that I fund from that administrative fund, the general fund doesn't have to pay. By extension, the people don't have to. And ORC says that you have to give me everything I need to do my job in both divisions. I can be efficient enough to cover those costs myself. That's the goal. And we have identified another revenue stream that we just started March 1st, by the way. We are now watercraft registrars. So you can not only title your watercraft and your motor, you can register it with us too. And we also have identified another revenue stream that we're going to begin doing. I will refrain from letting you guys know that, but just stay tuned. I'll be making another announcement.
And they stand there, you're going to get these praises now. We're talking about 252 certificate of title. Looking back, the only chart I've got goes back to 2013, but every single year, and especially under your term in office, the expenditures have never exceeded revenues. That's impressive.
And nobody touches my numbers. You saw the graphs. I mean, I'll be happy.
You did?
I'll be happy to give the beautiful charts and graphs that my team and I created to anyone. Faith.andrews@lakecounty.ohio.gov. Send me an email. I'll be happy to send it to you.
And again, thank you for your support for the justice system, especially law enforcement. That is truly appreciated. That's near and dear
You're welcome.
to me.
My pleasure. I mean, that's also part of economic development. Nobody's going to start a business here if they don't feel safe. We have to. We have to do it.
And I will say also, thank you though for pointing out about the 2% additional bed tax.
You're welcome.
Much to the surprise of I think most mere mortals, having then Representative Ron Young actually passing a tax and making that permissive, but that was tailored and came right out of Lake County, but it's available to all lakeshore communities. That 2% goes directly to the Port Authority, what we now call the Economic Development Authority, for lakeshore improvement. And I will say Mayor Regovich was one of the lead mayors at the time who, that the Shoreline Improvement District, I don't know if you want to add to that, but the funding for that has been coming from that bed tax. You want to, again, a little bit of praise here, I think that's fair.
So yeah, they used about 300,000 of that to back loans so that the citizens that own property on a lake could do erosion control.
Right.
So that was a big help in getting that done. That was a long negotiation with the banking industry, and it took a while to get done, and that really helped get us over the edge. So now those people have that opportunity to get that done and put an assessment on their taxes rather than taking huge loans and try and pay them off. Well, now it'll stay with the house.
Right. Yeah, they did that in Eastlake too, I think.
It's from Euclid to Madison.
Yeah.
So it's the largest in, I think, the state of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good thing that they stopped paying the coastal manager of the Port Authority with that bed tax fund, so they could have that extra money to be able to do that. Mr. Massey and I worked pretty hard on making that happen because it was illegal. So, anyway, anything else? No?
I don't know, you want to pat her on the back a little? We're all taking turns here, so.
Well, Mr. President, I would just say, having been able to visit with many of the leaders and owners in the winery industry and community over the last couple weekends as we celebrated the Ice Wine Festival, and I saw Commissioner Regovich made it out as well. They're very excited about us finally making good on the promises and the plans that we've had over the last decade to really develop the Grand River Valley region. This is incredible how the wine industry has grown in Ashtabula and Lake counties. Literally every 2 years you see another 2 wineries open. You're seeing 20-25% increase in the size of the business. And wineries don't just sell wine. They require people to travel, stay at hotels, go to restaurants, attend other facilities and entertainment. It really brings an entirely new base of tourism to Lake County. Once again, as our clerk points out, we are Lake County. We should be a destination. The one thing we're really lacking is for people to know what a great place we are. That's why we're so grateful to our Fair Queen for going to Columbus and reminding the rest of the state that we are the best place to live, work, play, and retire, and our fair is also the best for that matter. But we have to do a better job of telling people. We have to be more like our Fair Queen, and so having an entrance into wine country that really brands this region as one of the best, if not the best, winemaking regions in the world for so many different products is an extraordinary opportunity for us. We've made incredible progress, but it's time for us to live up to the promise that Lake County and the Grand River Valley region has. And doing so will bring in more tax revenue without having to raise taxes. The goal is to grow the base rather than raise the rate. And if we can bring in more wineries and more hotels, we can finally get more than one lakefront restaurant. You know, we all love Sunset Harbor. We do. But we should have more than one lakefront restaurant in all of Lake County. And we've had people for decades talk about this project, but we're coming together over the next couple of years to actually make this vision happen. So I am very excited about that. We're grateful for the clerk's cooperation in this hard work. You can't be against, you know, your biggest industries. You can't be against manufacturing and retail and Mentor. You can't be against the wine industry on the east side of the county without being against the county itself. We have to embrace what Lake County is. We are a county on the lake with the most beautiful views and scenes and opportunities to play and relax and enjoy. We have to start to embrace that image that we all know and love, and we need to share it with the rest of the world. And so this project is a very small step in that direction, and I am very excited about it.
It's just the beginning, and I couldn't agree more, Commissioner. Anything else, folks?
I've learned that I have to get with the clerk of courts because I haven't asked for anything yet.
Yeah, I guess we have to have a meeting, eh?
So
Okay.
again, thank you for your kind words for Job and Family Services, the efforts in the program. Again, it's one of our best treasures.
Yep.
Suzanne, you and your team, amazing. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Sure. First, I'd want to express my appreciation for you, Faith, for mentioning our Ohio Means Job Lake County team housed across the street at the Job and Family Services building. I couldn't agree with you more. We have great staff members who do a great job of matching up job seekers with employers, and I appreciate you highlighting the fact that you have received some great candidates from our team.
Yeah.
So I would just take this opportunity to reiterate that if there are any employers in Lake County who are interested in growing their workforce, the Ohio Means Jobs Lake County team is there to serve not only job seekers, but our employers in the community. And anyone who would be interested in more information should call 440-350-4000, follow the prompts, or reach out to me directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else at all? You know, this is the part where I sort of tease him. Just the come on up, sir. Gotta let the kids in on the inside joke here, right?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. On behalf of Lobbyists for Citizens, I have several items to discuss with the Commissioners. I'll save most of it for the second session. The first one was we have my wife and I have a friend that wheelchair-bound, lives at Danbury facility, assisted living facility in Mentor, and she expressed two concerns to us. One was she doesn't have anybody who can help her do her income taxes, and she was also saying that it's really too bad that the Lake Tran, she has to get up before 6 in the morning to contact Lake Tran so she can schedule a trip, any trip, 2 weeks in advance. I'll address the Lake Tran issue in the second session. But I want to acknowledge Joy Tomsick of the Council on Aging. When I was told about the problem about the income tax preparation, I immediately thought of Joey Tomsick, and he responded, within hours. And he sent me, I give you copies of the VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant, that's available, free tax preparation. I want to make sure that people that may be watching this know that it is available. It's handled through Lifeline. I've tried to reach Lifeline a couple times, but they haven't really gotten back to me, so maybe I'll stop on the way after the meeting just to see if I can get some details. But I was wondering if anybody in the room knows anything about this income-free tax preparation, because it sounds like a great service, but people just don't know about it.
Mr. Massey?
Yes, sir.
Have you tried calling 211?
Yes, I've called. There's several numbers on here I've called.
Okay, I had to give that advertisement, but VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, is a program run through the IRS that many different nonprofits and volunteers participate in. When I was in college, our professor asked us in basic federal income tax, you can have a midterm or you can do VITA. And we all said VITA! So I did volunteer income tax assistance as a college student. Essentially, if you meet certain income requirements and your return is simple enough, and by the way, if you meet certain income requirements, your return will be simple enough. Returns get more complicated the more money you make. Then VITA allows you to have a free income tax preparation. And the folks all go through mandatory training from the IRS, so you're getting a certain level of knowledge, even though you're having a lot of volunteers and students involved in the process. They all have to go through a certain level of training, so you know you're getting a certain level of quality there. But it's a great volunteer program.
Would the volunteer go to the individual? I mean, she's wheelchair bound, she's not going anywhere.
It depends on every VITA program. There's usually VITA sites where you go to, but my suspicion with Lifeline would be they probably do have alternate arrangements available.
Okay, I'll stop by Lifeline and see if I can get. Thank you very much, Commissioner, and I'll be back at the second session to talk about budgets, jail, and a few other things. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else at all? All right, moving on. Madam Clerk, first agenda item, please.
In the engineer's office, resolution to advertise for bids for the LAK County Road 711-0.59 Bishop Road Bridge in the city of Willoughby Hills, Ohio, federal project number E230248, PID number 117510, LCE project number 2022-017, bid opening April 26, 2023.
Move to approve.
I guess I'll have to second that. Discussion?
Mr. President?
Sir.
This is my street, so I'm going to abstain.
You had me worried there for a moment, just so you know. It's like, oh boy, where's this one going to go?
I will say my neighbors have been calling me, and they are so excited that this project is being done. A lot of gratitude to the Lake County Engineer's Office. Bishop Road will be better than ever, and we thank you for the investment in our community. But even though I don't think it's a conflict for me to vote on it, because it is my street, I will abstain.
So it is unusual, though, that we're putting this in a depth of 6 feet and they're paving it with a top coat of gold? I don't...
There is a statue of me, too, but...
Shh. That'd be that bronze one. That only did bronze, just so you know.
Well, the sheriff gets gold statues. I can only get,
And, Madam, if you want to give us a little bit of background on this to help us out, thank you.
Yes. Commissioners, this project is being funded through the bill, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. It's one of 5 bridge projects that our office was successful enough to be awarded. This is a design-build project, which means there is no plans currently. Part of it is to get a contractor who's going to develop, and then they'll work hand in hand with the build of this. And this is a full replacement of that bridge, unlike our project last week, which was Booth, which is just a superstructure.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Abstain.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing accepting a construction surety for the villas at Canterwood Farm Estates Phase 2 subdivision in Concord Township.
Move to approve.
Second.
Man, you guys are
I knew you didn't live in Concord.
Got me going here, guys. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing change order number 1 for the LAK Lane Road, County Road 123, resurfacing project with Carvo Companies Incorporated, decreasing the amount by $189,779.22. Federal aid number FAN E200 678, PID number 112509, LCE project number 2020-010.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, did you want to add anything? Except this, I love decreases. Those are always good. That says you're really doing good management over there.
Thank you. This is a project which we received federal funding for. It was a resurfacing as well as some drainage concerns that were addressed. The overages were due to the fact that once construction began, some of the full depth pavement repairs that were anticipated were not needed, and we were able to save the funds.
Excellent. Well said. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Cole Burton Contractors LLC for the Lake County Resurfacing Project 2023 as required by the Lake County Engineer in the amount of $1,619,973.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, you want to add anything?
I will add one thing on this project as well. This is an interesting project for our office because this shows true partnership with the townships as well as with the county commissioners. This project is not only the Lake County engineers with paving and full depth pavement repairs on some of our roads, but it includes a contract with Painesville Township and Concord Townships for resurfacing, as well as some repairs and paving at the Lake County Fairgrounds and the dog watering facility.
Excellent. All right.
Mr. President?
Sir.
Just so our Fair Queen knows, this means we're going to have all new roadways throughout the fairgrounds. So our fair this year will have the nicest roads in the history of the Lake County Fair, courtesy of our engineer.
Hopefully for more visitors too.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing final approval and acceptance of a 3-year maintenance bond for Fairway Pines Phase 4 subdivision in Painesville Township.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595 Aquarius Water Treatment Plant Switchgear Generator Improvements Project 435W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund and Project Fund 596 Twilight Lift Station Improvements Project 439S.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund and Project Fund 596, Arcola Creek Bennett Road Trunk Sewer Improvements Project 454S.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595, Vine Street Waterline, Willowick Drive to State Route 91, Project 447W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving final change order number 1 with Miller Brothers Construction Company Incorporated for the Cell C4 Expansion Phase 6, Part E Cell Construction Project number 421L, increasing the total contract amount by $55,317.02.
Move to approve.
Second.
And I'm going to say discussion. Randy.
Thank you, Commissioner. This project was, as it says, the cell expansion out at the landfill. There's been 4 or 5 projects that have been going on out there in order to accommodate the cell expansion and get us some capacity at the landfill for the next 25 years. The previous contract, we deleted some items and had a negative change order, and Miller Brothers was very happy with the work out there, and we had them complete some of the previously deleted parts of the contract from the earlier project.
And the stuff that got deleted, was that it wasn't deemed appropriate, or the vendor wasn't fulfilling things, there were some challenges with that, or what was
That's
that?
correct, yes.
Got it. Okay, so this, although this is an increase, we're asking them to perform additional. This is not something that we miss. This is just, hey, there's some other things that need to get done while you're here.
Exactly.
Okay, just want to be clear, because as happy as I am about decreases, I don't like to see increases, but we're doing more work, and while they're on site, we actually save money because they're not mobilizing and all that lovely expense. All right, gentlemen, anything further? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving final estimate number 8, release of retainage in the amount of $15,000 with Express Underground Incorporated and accepting a 3-year maintenance bond in the amount of $75,205.58 for Deerfield Relief Sewer Deerfield Force Main Project 366S for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution accepting a 3-year combined maintenance bond in the amount of $39,613.53 for sanitary sewers and water lines for Fairway Pines Phase 4 subdivision in Painesville Township, job number 21-72 and 21-73.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant March 24, 2023, in the amount of $621,854.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing execution of a contract between Motorola Solutions and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Telecommunications for Vesta 911 support.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President.
Sir.
Paul Stefanko, you're welcome.
Paul, is there anything you want to add to this conversation? Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, sir.
Commissioners, this resolution is requesting that you approve the funding for the support monitoring, advanced replacement, and software upgrades, as well as antivirus upgrades for 11 911 positions at the Emergency Operations Center. Although this is a contract with Motorola, the telecom department still remains the boots on the ground, if you will. We do all the maintenance and the work on site. This is for the software upgrades and antivirus software. We currently share a 911 system with the City of Mentor. The City of Mentor has agreed to their 5-year agreement, which is the other half of this. We also, Lake County Telecom also maintains Mentor's 911 system. This 5-year agreement, the reason that we went with a 5-year agreement is because if you went with 5 individual 1-year agreements, the cost would be double. So by going with a 5-year agreement up front, it not only locks us in to virtually a 50% reduction, but it also means that the hardware that we have will be supported by Motorola for 5 years, and we won't have to replace it within that 5 years. So I can answer any questions that you might have, but we do thank you.
Gentlemen?
Mr. President,
sir.
I would just say in all seriousness, Mr. Stefanko, the head of our telecommunications department, is arguably the expert on radios and radio technology in Ohio. We're very grateful for your service, and your work on this project has saved the county a lot of money while ensuring that we have the highest level of communication for law enforcement and safety, so we thank you.
Well, thank you, and I wish that what you said was true, but I really do appreciate it. We're all on the same team. Okay,
I'm going to leave that one be. Thank you, Paul. It's always a pleasure. Paul used to be my boss back in the day, so we're friendly there. Oh my, yeah, I was gonna say, be careful you don't put a workers' comp claim in for getting patted on the back too much there, you know. Little jocularity there, folks. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution appointing Carl Dondorfer to the Lake County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board to complete the remainder of a 4-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President?
Sir.
Carl Dondorfer wears many hats in our community. He's a Concord Township trustee. He serves as chief of police for Wade Hill Village, and he serves in those roles with a great deal of distinction. We're grateful that he's willing to step up in yet another role for his community on the Adams Board, where he's going to work to allocate monies and support among the nonprofits that help dealing with addiction, substance abuse, and mental health issues throughout Lake County. These aren't easy issues to deal with, and the fact that Chief and Trustee Dondorfer is willing to give his time and perspective as a law enforcement officer and a municipal official to that board is a really great contribution. So it's with gratitude that we appoint Carl Dondorfer to this position.
Very good. I'll add to that if I may. He's also, Carl Dondorfer is also the appointed representative for the non-incorporated areas, being our townships, to the One Ohio Region 13 Board. So this would be an excellent bridge for resources and again, his time with our Sheriff's Department and now also serving as a Chief of Police, his time in law enforcement and being truly boots on the ground, I think gives him a tremendous opportunity to serve. I know that also we had Jim McBride for a number of years serving as a law enforcement representative on the Adams Board. Jim, I'm sure, would approve of this. But with that, if there's nothing further, anything you want to add, sir?
I just want to add that he's just a great guy and a positive attitude at all times. So we're lucky to have him in our county, and we're lucky that he's willing to serve.
Excellent.
Amen.
Excellent. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution declaring the Lake County Board of Commissioners a regular meeting schedule beginning April 6, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's approval journal in the amount of $1,063,578.33.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's purchase order approval journal in the amount of $1,930,114.47.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and an appropriation within general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion. Okay, I would like to, I'm going to look to legal onto this to make sure I do this right. I would like to make a move to amend and separate these two. We've got a $275,000 and a $4,000, because I think we should discuss these separately. And if we take action on one in the current form, we're taking action on both. So, legal, am I?
You're obviously making a motion to amend the cash transfer?
Yes, sir. But I just want to make sure that I'm putting it in the proper form, that we're separating the two so that we can discuss them individually.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? Do I have a second to separate the two because the $4,000 is essential for JFS? Unbelievable. Okay, dies for lack of a second. Under discussion. So we have before us the $275,000 that has been suggested to go for signage and in particular an archway to be located in the Madison area. Anybody want to speak on behalf of this? Okay. So we seem to have a declaration, if I'm correct in my understanding, I'm going to look legal on this, of $275,000 surplus from the Clerk of Courts. Am I correct?
That's correct. Clerk of Courts sent a letter to the Board of Commissioners on March 1st of this year, 2023, declaring a surplus in the amount of $275,000 and requesting it be transferred into the general fund.
Okay. And again, appreciate everything that the clerk and the clerk staff are doing. This is what I'm trying to flesh out is not customs, not habits, not past practice. I'm trying to follow matters of law. And one of the most underutilized services we have in the county would be the, hold on, let me get this right. Would you ever just have that go right out of your head? We don't use them enough. The board, the Budget Commission. There's, I believe, a provision where the Budget Commission could, because I question, is 275 the true surplus? We've all talked at length about what the true surplus is. I really think we should have somebody actually say, yes, then they are the authority, would have jurisdiction if the clerk and the commissioners cannot agree on what that amount is. Is that a reasonable statement?
Under the statute, if there's a declaration of a surplus within the Certificate of Title Administration Fund by the Clerk of Courts and the Board of Commissioners agrees that there's a surplus, however, they don't agree on the amount of that declaration, or the surplus, that is, that would be a situation where it would then go to the Budget Commission for consideration in a full public open hearing.
So right now we're looking at 275. So if I were to make a motion to amend the 275 to say $5 million, I could do that. And that would give the Budget Commission authority to say, what are we actually looking at here? And that would give everybody the chance to take a look at this pot of money and say, yes, this is for this is for that, and here's the true amount that would be considered surplus.
Are you asking me a hypothetical, or are you making a motion?
I'm just trying to talk it through.
Okay. If a motion were made in that regard to not agree with the amount of the surplus as declared by the Clerk of Courts, the board, a majority of the board, could determine a number other than what the Clerk of Courts has stated in her declaration, and then there would be a dispute that would go to the Budget Commission. Both the clerk and the Board of Commissioners agree there's a surplus. They don't agree on the amount of the surplus. So the deciding fact or body in that regard would be the Budget Commission. And the Budget Commission, again, would have a hearing. I've never experienced or been through one of these, but I would think the Budget Commission would then want to look at the the cost, expenditures, things like that with regard to the operation of the Clerk of Courts, and the amount of monies contained in the Certificate of Title Administration Fund, and make a determination as to the amount of the surplus.
So the concern that I have is by custom, by past practice. Again, it's not contrary to law, but it's past practice that we go to clerk with projects kind of like the piggy bank, you know, going to the bank of mom, help us out. I'm not comfortable that that's a proper thing that we should be burdening our clerk of courts with. And I'm concerned that there are statutory obligations on the part of the general fund to the clerk. I think our clerk and her team have done a fantastic job of always making sure that revenues exceed expenses. That is commendable. And I've heard at length, you know, the Budget Commission, what do? I don't want to say toothless tiger because I don't want to offend anybody, but when have they ever sunk their teeth into something? Just actually look at something. So if I were to say I'd like to make a motion to amend the $275,000 to $5 million, that would trigger the Budget Commission to actually have to do their job. Is that a reasonable statement?
With a second.
With a second. Okay.
And a vote.
Understood.
And you touched upon it. Customarily, historically, my understanding is that when a surplus has been declared in the past by the clerk of courts, it was custom that clerk of courts, and it goes back before Ms. Andrews' time, where the clerk of courts would suggest or ask that surplus be put towards a certain expenditure. It's mandatory that it be a proper political or public expenditure, okay? But it's not required that this Board of Commissioners go along with any such request. The money does go into the general fund. It's the Board of Commissioners' decision on what monies are spent in the general fund and for what. That makes...
It does. And in looking into this, and years prior, before Clerk Andrews, going back several clerks, there's never been a transfer, a declaration of surplus, a transfer to the general fund that did not come with, I'm just saying for the sake of discussion, strings attached, an earmark. These dollars are being transferred and declared surplus because it's going to this specific project or that specific project. Yes, ma'am, if you want to jump in, Madam Clerk. Thank you, ma'am.
As the prosecutor has so aptly put it, I don't declare a surplus unless I need to try to fund legal. And then I do, ask, Mr. Matus and I talk about it. I send a letter saying I would wish to declare a surplus of whatever the amount is that I need to fund, either Fund 253, which is the computerization fund, or the digitization fund, which is Fund 406. And then I say I respectfully request, because I do know that the law is that surplus goes to the general fund. I can respectfully request all day long, but you don't have to spend it on what I'm asking you to spend it on. The other things that I have funded that I listed here earlier in the public comment section were requests from commissioners to help fund particular projects that they had an interest in. And I did, because I felt that it was giving back to the people. Again, every one of those letters that I sent on my letterhead indicates I wish to declare a surplus of this amount and respectfully request that it be sent or spent on this particular thing. And those were started by the ask from the commissioners. I don't walk around looking for things to fund and then say, I want you guys to fund this. I have no control over the money once it goes to the general fund. None.
Mr. President?
Sir.
It would strike me that there are two foundational issues here. First, the law, and then the bottom line. With respect to the law, we've heard from our prosecutor's office that past practice has complied with the law, not only under Clerk Andrews, but Clerk Maureen Kelly, both of whom had operated Title Bureau at a surplus and made substantial contributions to important projects for the county. And we extend thanks to both Ms. Andrews and her predecessor for doing that, but clearly in compliance with the law. The second point, bottom line, I think that any fair interpretation of what we're talking about here, if we were to change the practice and procedure, is that the Board of Commissioners would essentially be wanting to take what has always been a two-step process, a partnership, kind of a check and balance between the clerk of courts and the board of commissioners and say, let's just make all the decisions ourselves at once. Because once the money goes in the general fund, the commissioners have complete discretion over it. Whereas in the past, there would be a conversation between the clerk of courts. Today, there's a conversation with the clerk of courts and the commissioners to talk about our priorities. And I think there's a certain logic to that, because having checks and balances usually results in better decision making. And listening, at least listening, because ultimately the commissioners decide, but listening to the office that generated the surplus, that did the hard work, which we thank them for, so that we have the additional funding to make these investments, it strikes me as commonsensical, which is why Republicans and Democrats, past commissioners and clerks of courts have done this as far back as anyone remembers. So to me, number one, the process that we've always followed is legal. Number two, it provides more check and balance than what's being proposed. And I would add a third issue, to escalate to a dispute that's never, to our knowledge, happened in county history before, to say we want to grab the title bureau surplus and then we'll spend it how we choose, by going to the budget commission and hoping that they declare a bigger surplus so that we can just unilaterally spend it. I think that most voters would look at it and say, why aren't you capable of working together? Why are you insisting on taking all the power for yourself? And don't get me wrong, I'm a commissioner, so I guess more power sounds good to me, right? But as a tax-paying citizen, I'd rather have more checks and balances. I would rather listen, cooperate, work together. So while I respect the fact that what you're proposing is certainly legal, saying the budget commission isn't busy enough, let's give them a dispute, is like saying our courts aren't busy enough, let's sue each other. I think it's always better, and I say this as a law professor, it's always better if you can work things out without a dispute. And to date, every time we've reached out to the clerk's office, whether it was Ms. Andrews or her predecessor, we've been able to work it out and find a solution that's positive for residents. I see no reason why we can't continue to work together.
And I certainly don't say there's any disputes between Clerk Andrews and this board, but I do believe that there is a potential dispute between what the definition of the surplus is, and I say definition as in quantification. So the reason I want to be very clear on this, Clerk of Courts Andrews has been very generous and very understanding, and she's very good at working along and sometimes upsetting the apple cart to get to the truth on things, and I think that's commendable. Sometimes you got to shake things up. The checks and the balances by law is the Budget Commission, and I'm not trying to say give them some work. I'm saying that there seems to be a disagreement over the definition of what the surplus is. I think we can all agree, and Clerk Andrews takes pride that revenues have always exceeded expenses, and especially under her leadership, revenues have exceeded expenses. Again, I think we've heaped praise there, but I also think I've heard personally, and I think this board hopefully has heard loud and clear, that the Budget Commission needs to get engaged, do their job. So I think it's time that maybe we do have a third party take a look at things. You know, we are in need of meeting requirements. As again, Clerk Andrews pointed out, we have statutory responsibilities. We need to adequately fund our courts. We need to adequately fund the clerk of courts. We need to adequately fund our sheriff, our prosecutor, our public defender. And if there's a pot of $5.5 million, I think the Budget Commission should say, yeah, that $275 is appropriate, here you go. Or, yeah, the $5 million is appropriate. Or, wait a minute, the whole $5.5 million. But that's their job by statute. That's the law. So have I misstated anything? I'm looking to legal.
I don't believe you have, Commissioner. There could also be an agreement between the clerk of courts and this board for the amounts that you just stated without even involving the Budget Commission. My understanding is that the clerk does have to fund her title bureau out of this Certificate of Title Administration Fund. The issue is there a surplus? And how much is that surplus? And I think I've kind of explained.
Sure.
But there could be a declaration by both the clerk and this board that the entire $5.5 million, if that's what it is a surplus or an amount otherwise. And I want to follow up on Commissioner Plechnik's the statements he made. He's absolutely correct. There is the past practice as far as agreeing with the expenditure of the clerk of court at that time. It is legal, absolutely.
So to keep the conversation going, and maybe to kick this to the Budget Commission, and I hope I would get a second on this. I think I will make the motion to amend the 275,000 to 5 million. Is that adequate to keep the conversation going, sir?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Okay, failed for lack of a second. So now the stated purpose of the 275, does it go, if we pass this resolution, does it go for the purpose so stated in this document, or is that a matter subject to fair debate at a future time?
Based on my reading through the documentation in the request by Ms. Andrews, it's the money would go to the Visitors Bureau, the $275,000. It would go to the general fund, and again, by past practice, be spent for this gateway arch photo op signage project or whatever. Again, I want to emphasize, though, it's the Board of Commissioners is in charge of the general fund money, but when there's representations made, and in the past, this custom has been followed, it would be unprecedented not to follow through with the request. I will say that. And obviously, all of these types of expenditures have to be a proper public expenditure.
And is it fair to say that this being part two of the two-part process, the appropriations was at our last meeting? Neil Stein, Executive Director of Visitors Bureau, was kind enough to join us. Incredibly short notice, but thanking him for showing up. He did seem comfortable that the Visitors Bureau does have the funds to do this on a reimbursement basis. The model that I believe I suggested is similar to Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. The receiving party performs the task and then we reimburse. I had mentioned that I was uncomfortable fronting $275,000 for this project. Would we be proceeding with this being a reimbursement based on that previous discussion? Or as soon as this is done, somebody's cutting a check to the Visitors Bureau for $275,000? My understanding is that this would be a reimbursement based on our discussion with the Executive Director from Visitors Bureau.
Mr. President?
Sir.
If I could jump in, my understanding, I think it might sum up your question so that Mr. Hackman can give a yes or no, but my understanding is that this vote simply transfers the $275,000 into the general fund. In theory, the commissioners could do anything we wanted with it. In past practice, we respected the conversation with the clerk of courts and the recommendation and would ultimately go forward with it. But what we're actually doing in this vote is taking the $275,000, putting it in the general fund. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
And, well, I was just going to say, the Visitors Bureau, I would clearly think that that is a proper public expenditure for travel and tourism. However, there are other expenses out there that this board is tasked with funding. And so when I say it's not illegal or anything like that, I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying it's not contrary to law, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Okay, is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, anything else you want to add?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Indicating none. Okay, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
No. All right, continuing on with our agenda. Let's see. Departmental reports, utilities.
Thank you, Commissioner. We opened our first water line improvement project bid yesterday, and somewhat encouraging, we had 5 bidders on the project, although all of them were above the engineer's estimate. One was within $3,000 of that, so that's somewhat encouraging as far as the cost of construction and materials and that sort of thing goes. We'll have a real test in about 3 weeks where we open a $2 million water line project on Vine Street and see where those numbers come in, so looking forward to that.
Excellent. Anything for utilities? Thank you. Moving on, Job and Family Services.
Well, I decided to change things up today, and I provided some graphics for my departmental report. I have talked in the past about the 17th annual reverse raffle that our Lake County Foster Parent Association is holding on Saturday, April 8th. It is at Lavera Party Center in Willoughby Hills. This is a great event. We're bringing this event back after a 4-year COVID-related hiatus, and I would encourage anyone who is interested in attending and supporting the wonderful work that our Foster Parent Association does on a daily basis with the children in our community to consider purchasing a ticket. Folks could see me for tickets, or they can contact one of our staff members at Job and Family Services, Sean Douglas, at 440-350-4228. And thank you to several supporters in the room today who have already purchased tickets for this event.
Excellent. Anything else?
I do have another graphic. I wanted to share, I think I mentioned this at a previous meeting, but we are getting these save the date cards and posters out to all of our community partners that the Back to School Bash is coming back on Saturday, August 5th at Harvey High School. This is a great event to serve the children in our community. We typically, Job and Family Services, Family and Children First Council, in collaboration with the Salvation Army, host this event. We typically need about 300 volunteers to make this day go smoothly. If anyone is interested in volunteering for the event, please let me know. It's a heartwarming day. It really shows the strength and generosity of our county when children and families are there preparing for the start of the new school year. Since our 4-H youth are here, I wanted to give a special shout out to our 4-H youth. They do typically collect donations every year for the Back to School Bash, so it's great to see you guys in person to say thank you. And again, there will be more details to come regarding this event, but I wanted to make sure that I shared our Save the Date card today. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And regarding the Back to School Bash, I understand there's a West Side event that normally takes place that will not be taking place. Are we anticipating additional participants?
Well, what I would say about the Back to School Bash is it is open to all Lake County residents. I think that there may have been maybe a smaller bash on the west end of the county. We've never been part of that planning process, but this event always has been and will be continue to be open to all Lake County residents.
Commissioner Regovich, anything you want to add to that one? I know you're a West Side guy there.
I think they have small local backpacks they would put together, things like that. I don't know how organized those are. Some are churches, some are individual places. So I think, we promote the Lake County one. 2, we could probably get this out to all the mayors and put it on their local websites and things like that.
Fair. Commissioner Fletcher.
Mr. President, 2 things. First, I do know that Willow Praise Church does backpack distributions periodically, and Lake County Treasurer Mike Zern is very involved in that. So if you're on the west side and can't get out to Harvey High School, I'd say at least 3 or 4 times a year, Willow Praise Church does a backpack distribution. Much smaller than this, though. So if you're able to come out, I'm sure there'll be a lot for the kids. The second thing is, I'm really proud of 4-H Youth and their participation. Are there any other participants or sponsors you'd like to highlight who help with this?
Well, there are so many. I think it would be really difficult to just narrow it down to a handful. We are really very grateful for the generosity of many private businesses in the community, local churches. again, the Lake County community really delivers for this event. There's a lot of wonderful donations, so it just so happens that 4-H was here today, and it would be difficult to narrow down all of the other supporters. We typically do have a sign at the Back to School Bash every year. There's hundreds of organizations listed on that sign to thank the companies and businesses that
Well, we
donate.
definitely want to extend a big thank you to 4-H and everyone who helps you help the Back to School Bash. And Madam Clerk, make sure this is on our calendar. We got to be there.
It's on your calendar already.
Oh!
Thank you. All right, nothing further. County Administrator.
Good morning still. Just a brief update on one of our first ARPA projects that the commissioners funded. With the Mayor Morley and the City of Eastlake at Captain's, Classic Auto Group Stadium, I think now is the official title of former Classic Park in Eastlake. As a quick history, the commissioners provided ARPA funding last summer for lighting, and in the fall, an additional allocation of dollars for COVID-related improvements to the clubhouse and various portions of the field. This project was reviewed internally by myself, outside counsel, et cetera, for eligibility. I've attended almost every construction meeting every Tuesday morning. This was an extremely tight construction timeline with the season ending last September, bids, et cetera. Construction really starting mid to late October with the goal of being completed opening day, which is April the 6th. The captains will have their season opener. The project is going really well. I want to thank Mayor Morley and his team, Jen Yorko and the captains. The contractor is an outfit by the name of Infinity Construction. The weather has helped. We've had a pretty mild winter as far as construction is considered. Everything looks good. They have 2 weeks to go. I did a walkthrough Tuesday with the mayor. Programmatically, with all the ARPA red tape that we have to deal with, prevailing wage, bidding, everything has went really smooth. So I just want to thank the entire team who's responsible for implementing that project, and once again thank the commissioners for the funding that was approved almost a year ago. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything for our administrator? Thank you, Jason. Okay, moving on to clerk. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention that the resolution that was adopted declaring the regular meeting schedule, that meeting schedule will be posted online this afternoon, and it will run through July 6th. And also I wanted to mention that our next commissioners meeting is going to be Thursday, March 23rd at 10 a.m.
Excellent. Anything for our clerk? Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business? Any old business? I will try to get out in front of Mr. Massey here a little bit. He did talk to me before the meeting about our budgets, where we're at with that. You know, we're going to be having further budget discussions to finalize things. I believe we're working on, if it hasn't been put out there yet, it will be starting 9 o'clock before the next commissioner meeting. Start moving forward with that. You know, there was some discussion about definition of what we took away from it. You know, we've got a baseline of where we're starting within existing revenues. Then we're looking at where we're at with reserves. And obviously, we've heard loud and clear from our courts that our staff attorneys and magistrates, there needs to be adjustments there. We did work with our probate court judge before he left town to make some adjustments that we're going to have to formalize sooner rather than later. Obviously, our clerk courts made a good case for her office. Our prosecutor made, I believe, a compelling case. You know, again, the issue of attorneys. What's the market value? Trying to define things. You know, that's one of the questions. And again, hopefully I'm stealing your thunder, Mr. Massey. So I'm gonna. He is a good sport. I have to admit that. You know, we're talking about market value and sustainability. You know, if we can find out what that market value is based on surrounding counties and who we're losing people to, that sets where we need to be, and then we can budget appropriate. You know, in the past, we've always been in the 2% range and as high as 2.5% if we can budget in that. Looking forward, that helps with predictability. I'll use our sheriff's department as an example. We've been losing deputies to the city of Mentor and Willoughby. That's the mark. We're looking at that. We actually have Ashtabula and Cuyahoga County. They're the ones who are paying more than our prosecutors. So we need to be cognizant of that. Those are the marks that we're looking at. Geauga, they've been courting our corrections officers. That's the mark we're looking at there. If I've missed anything, I'm sure Mr. Massey will point that out to me. But again, trying to set some expectation of what are we looking at? What are the road signs? So stay tuned on the budget discussions, and that's some of the factors that are coming into that. If there's no other old business, moving on to new business. Do you have any new business? Any new business at all? Okay, Mr. Massey, public comment. You got anything left, or did I take it all? As he shakes his head. Folks, you're welcome to stay or bail, whatever's easiest for you. Thank you for joining us.
By the way, for the public who can't see, almost all the 4-H kids stayed through the entire meeting to learn more. That's how passionate they are about local government.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
And our Fairport crew is still here. And I found out they are the media crew, so welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Again, Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive, on behalf of Lobbyists for Citizens. Let's start with a question regarding investments. I attend the quarterly investment meetings, and based on what I've been hearing about the Silicon Valley Bank, another bank went belly up, and I hear that there's another international bank, Credit Suisse, I believe. I'm concerned, and I'm just wondering if the commissioners are concerned about the over $400 million that the county has investments in. Have we reached out to our investment advisor to determine whether or not our investments are safe, or are we at risk of losing any part of that principal?
You're both on the investment advisory.
Mr. President, if I could just say, the issue you're talking about is FDIC insurance, which is typically limited to $250,000 per depositor. Most of our resources are not simply in a deposit that's federally insured, so there's always the risk of loss when you invest in commercial paper and bonds. But that's something we work with the investment advisor with on a rotating basis. It's not just once a quarter or once a month where we ask about those risks. We're always considering risk and return, and what rating of bond, what level of risk are we willing to accept. I will say bonds have actually become more attractive in the last couple of days because they were viewed as less risky relative to oversized uninsured bank balances as a result. But there's no such thing as a riskless investment. I wish that there were. People used to say U.S. Treasury bonds were a riskless investment when I was in school, and people are not so convinced that they're riskless today. But we are always evaluating the risk-return balance. I mean, we could get potentially a 20 or 30% return if we were willing to bet on a risky investment. You might get a 1% return if you're going for a lower risk, but there's no investment with zero risk. But is the county just depositing all of our money in one large bank that could go belly up? The answer is no, we're not. And so we're not at a great deal of risk that the bank is going to go bust. Beyond that, Silicon Valley Bank and the other small banks that have had issues in recent days, the Federal Deposit Insurance Company has essentially announced a bailout where they're creating new fees that will insure the deposits beyond that $250,000 limit. I personally share, I believe it was Senator Vance who came out saying This is wrong. I share the opinion that it's wrong to burden every bank in the country to bail out a bank that frankly made a lot of very questionable investments and are protecting depositors that were largely speculative and large wealthy companies and individuals, not local governments. But the long and short of it is, our investments are not risk-free, but we are always balancing risk and return, which is why we have a relatively modest rate. State law restricts what we can invest in to start with, and even beyond that, we're trying to make sure we're preserving that capital for the taxpayer. But it's a never-ending debate and discussion as to what mix of bonds and commercial paper makes the most sense in risk and return.
It sounds like you're on top of that, then, Commissioner Plechnik, and that's really what I was wanted to make sure of for the people that, next month you're not going to say, gee, I'm sorry, but we've lost 50% of the principal.
We did not put the money in Silicon Valley Bank. I can tell you that.
Okay, well, we'll look forward then to the next investment meeting. I did attend, as you mentioned, Commissioner Hammercheck, I did attend, several of the budget meetings, and I do remember that Sheriff Liam Bruno asked the commissioners if they'd made any, decisions, and you said no decisions are going to be made until all the budget hearings have been completed, because he needs to know whether, how does he operate. I've said publicly that after my tour of the jail, I think we do definitely need a new jail. Now the question is, how are you going to pay for it? But I certainly think that the sheriff is entitled to some direction from the commissioners. And speaking of the new jail, it's really frustrating to me when I look at Lake Tran, who seems to be flush with millions and millions of cash. And it seems like they've tapped into a gold mine with all of the grants. I understand that they were building the new building. They had a ceremony to kick that off. But when I hear citizens complaining about the service, they've got to get up, they've got to call before 6 in the morning, and it's a 2-week lead time. I'm not calling that Class A service. I have talked to Ben Capel about it, but I'm still, when I weigh the overall needs of the community, for a new jail and for, you're going to have to pay competitive wages, throughout the entire system, which means, our cost of our government is going up, but that's the financial realities that we're facing. I'm making an appeal to the Lake Tran board, and the appeal is this: think about the overall need of the community. Your 0.25% sales tax that they are collecting, is my understanding, if the 0.5% that the commissioners wanted to enact was going to generate 16 to 20 million, therefore that says that the 0.25% that they're collecting is getting around $8 million a year for them. And I was always told that $8 million, which would be comparable to the 1.1 mil inside millage if you were to enact the 1.1 mils, that would generate $8 million, and I was told that would be enough to pay for the jail. So again, it's the commissioners probably can't do anything about Lake Tran, but as just an average citizen, I'm looking at, we got an entity that is just flush with cash. Well, that money should be better spent in building a jail, is in my opinion. So I'm asking the Lake Tran board to think about the overall well-being of the community, because if they now think it's great that they're bailing out Geauga County, and I understand that they may think they're going to make an extra $100,000 on that service, but that wasn't their original mission. I did talk to I did send emails to Auditor Galloway as one member of the Budget Commission, and I asked him to take a look. Again, the Budget Commission's role, as I understand it, is the watchdog for the taxpayers on any of the political subdivisions that may be accumulating or amassing surplus much more than they need to operate for their daily or let's say monthly expenses. So I did ask Auditor Galloway to take a look at that. I even the Clerk of Courts or Narcotics Board, I found out Narcotics Board's got $4 million, Clerk's got over $5 million. So it just seems like all of our political subdivisions, if we could somehow, some way reallocate or reuse that money, we could build a jail that we need. One last item, and that is I did communicate with Chairman of the Board of Elections, Mr. Dale Fellows, and I asked him for some assistance. And that is I'm on an initiative to try to add 2 citizens to the Budget Commission, because I think it's an important commission. Now, I've been told, well, Brian, you're naive if you think that, the 2 average citizens are going to be on there. That's just going to be like a political football, and, you'll just have, be they Democrats or Republicans, it just won't be average independent citizens. Well, be that as it may, but I still think the Budget Commission, as the watchdog, they must do their job and look out on what's on the best interest of the citizens of Lake County. What I asked for, Mr. Fellows, I went to the Secretary of State. The issue that I have, Ross McDonald, Director of the Board of Elections, was very kind and very timely in giving me the information on what permit I need to use, how many signatures, and when are the permits, when I have the deadline to get them into the Board of Elections. But what we didn't know, because no one has ever done this before, as I understand with the state, that how do I, as a citizen, how do I put my name on the ballot? No one could answer that. I've contacted the Secretary of State via email and also phone calls, and I'm getting nowhere. So I just didn't want this to drop, so I've asked Mr. Fellows to help me get that answer. So I will let you know when I do get the answers. And one last thing is I would concur, Mr. Carl Dondorfer, an excellent public servant, and I know him well from Concord and trustees, so I'm thankful that he's on the Mental Health Board, and I thank him for giving more of his time. I'm not sure how he finds time, but I'm thankful for him to do it. Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Sir.
First, I want to thank Mr. Massey for the questions, because I think that your very critical, incisive questions always raise the level of the dialogue. It forces us to think on a deeper level about the work that we're doing together. And not enough people come to these meetings to have this kind of a conversation. Two, with respect to the Board of Elections issue and getting on the ballot, I would think that after you had a successful petition drive and after the issue was put on the ballot to be voted up or down by the people as to whether or not to add 2 members to the Budget Commission, then you would simply go through a very standardized process, probably 50 signatures, but the Board of Elections would know better than I to put in your own petitions, just like you would for any other county-wide office. So I think it would be like a step 3, if you will, after you got the initial issue on the ballot, after it passed, then you would file for it like you would any other office.
Yeah, I believe you are correct in that. I just wanted someone in the position to tell me so that we know exactly how to do it. That's all. But you are probably correct, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, if I may, just hearing that question to Mr. Fellows, I'm sure he'll probably be reaching out to me, but that's really probably asking him for legal advice. But I want to take that into consideration. I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, I honestly didn't think, I just say, what's the procedure? What does the average citizen, do? If the Board of Elections can't tell me, where do, and the Secretary of State won't address the issue, where does the average citizen go to get the answer?
Yeah, I'll have to take that into consideration, but.
Yeah, so I wasn't looking for free legal advice. I'm just trying to get an answer for the people. Thank you very much.
He can bill you if you like.
No, he's already told me that.
So is going to be the next article going to be titled "The Budget Commission: The Great Enigma"? You're welcome to use that one. Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone else in the public wishing to address the board? Anyone else at all? Okay, I'm going to circle back under new business, something that I failed to address. At our most recent NOACA board meeting last Friday, we had what I would characterize as an unusual event. There was discussion had about, and I'm just going to start with the trigger words, climate action plan, that after public input was changed to reflect exactly what was taking place, which I believe was an inventory of local emissions and weather resiliency. So golly gee whiz, we changed it to, let's see, so climate action plan, which was trigger words that seemed to be misunderstood by everybody who was extreme environmentalist to extreme anti, to let me see, local emissions and weather resiliency planning. Call it what it is. That was not enough. The tone in the room, there was an amendment on the part of County Executive Romaine, supported by Mayor Whitfield from Elyria. Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb attended, was in support of the language. The discussion focused mostly on people's personal positions, and it was rather disturbing that the conversation and ultimately the vote went down along the lines of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County voting as a block, and Lake Geauga, Lorena Medina County substantially sticking together and voting as a block. The reason I bring this to this board is it is essential that the 5 voting members from Lake County actually show up to these meetings, and if they cannot show up, have their alternates show up, and if their alternates cannot show up, please submit a name for a one-day alternate. I know we had an extraordinary event with the passing of Judge Lawson and her services taking place that day, but only 2 of the 3 votes from Lake County were there, myself and Ben Capel. We really need to make a concerted effort. I can say that I think that discussion would have gone very differently if I had a mayor sitting at the table who could have talked to the mayors and encouraged them to hear out the proposal. The amendment took place before the presentation was even completed. And to Commissioner Plechnik's credit, being a professor and your mastery of words and debate, I'm pretty sure you could have worn them down. And I offer that up as high praise because you are very good at getting your point across. We need to make that effort. And having Engineer Gills there, he is the personification of the keeper of the old knowledge. Even when it was pointed out to the group that we as a body were putting at risk our certification and accreditation with the federal government because we are audited. And I don't mean financially audited in addition to financial audits. I'm talking about procedural adherence to requirements. And one of the requirements is NOACA is required to have public engagement and take that public engagement into consideration. I even had to try to point out to the board that that public engagement is not always in the form of what you want to hear or what you like to hear. It may be exactly the opposite, but we are obligated to do that. the board decided to not only go back to a defective set of wording, but completely erase all public engagement, which I believe will be putting us at risk. We are trying to figure out procedurally how we can mitigate that. There may be a finding, there may be some question as to our future certifications, which puts at risk a great deal of money, which goes into that word fiduciary, which is going to be a very popular theme in my life because I'm finding there's a lot of things that we are obligated to do that we have to focus on. So, that being said, I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. It is uncomfortable. I am concerned that if people are going to argue over words, and you know that I have put a tremendous amount of effort over the last 7 years to make sure that Lake County is no longer a donor county, meaning more money is leaving Lake County than coming back. That, I believe, is very much at risk. We finally got Route 20 paved, or funded, and those improvements, but historically those dollars always get yanked back for more important projects. Well, we finally got it taken care of. That's 64 million, I believe. Don't quote me on that number, but it's a best faith effort. You know, the money that we're getting for Interstate 90, I think that was 77.1 million. But those things, if people are willing to fight over words, when you're talking about tens of millions of dollars, that's a very real concern. And as president of the board, that was a very difficult meeting to manage. I hope that I kept everybody's interests out there, but I did stand with Lake Geauga, Lorraine, and Medina counties on this. I did not like what was happening because it seemed more legislative in nature, where they were whipping the votes regardless of the harm. I did point out that there would be very likely unintended consequences. It seemed to be falling on deaf ears. And I can't say it any other way, but I am concerned. So I don't know if you have any questions on that or if that was pretty plain, but I just needed to, hopefully we can reinsert that back under new business because I failed to do that. So, all right, with that, and even with that addition, is there, in fairness, is there any public comments that are spurred by that addition there under new business, the NOACA update? Okay. We do have a request for an executive session. The purpose will be legal pending litigation. There will be no business to be conducted afterwards. Do I have a motion to adjourn for reasons so stated?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.